Get started right away. This is a seminar which attempts to introduce new features of SQL Server 2012, and there are a lot of features that are launched, especially compared to 2008. But if you were using 2008 R2, the changes are kind of evolutionary rather than revolutionary, or incremental changes. And when we say SQL Server, actually, obviously there are a lot of things like SQL Server analysis services, reporting services, integration services, tools for a database management administrator, right, or a database administrator. We will not cover all that. We will look into what is important for a programmer actually. So for a SQL developer or a programmer who writes queries, stored procedures, and so on and so forth, and also does performance tuning. So from a programmer perspective, that is what this seminar would cover. Here is the quick agenda. We'll see some new shortcuts that are introduced, new dynamic management views, spatial indexes, column store indexes, string functions, datetime functions, conversion functions, offset and fetch, sequence with result sets, error handling, file table, analytical functions, and there is something called big data which is coming up now. What does it mean with regards to SQL Server? That is another topic that we would cover. Okay, is this on an internet, this machine? No, okay. Now, shortcuts. This is very important for a programmer. It is one of the most minute or a stupid topic that we can talk about in a seminar which introduces new features of SQL 2012. But surprisingly, there are a lot of developers who do not take advantage of shortcuts. Not necessarily in SQL, even in your code editor. Let it be Eclipse, let it be Visual Studio. There are a lot of shortcuts that are available that allows you to be much more productive rather than toggling your mouse to go and get where the menu is and then give a command. Simple. How easy it is to do a shift control B for a build rather than searching for the menu and doing a build solution command, etc. basically, right? So the same way, there are a lot of superb shortcuts available with SQL as such, the Management Studio as such, and with 2012 they have introduced new shortcuts as such. We can quickly see some of them. The first option that I wanted to show you was go to Tools, Options, Keyboard. This option, if you see, it says Visual Studio 2010 compatible. What this means is whatever shortcuts that are applicable to Visual Studio 2010 would also work with SQL Server 2012 Management Studio. This is a new feature that's introduced. So you don't need to adapt to two different development environments, right? So if you are comfortable with Visual Studio, you can carry on that to here. For people who do not use Visual Studio, this is of course not applicable, but there are lot many shortcuts that we can have a look at very quickly. There is another thing which is a query shortcut. So this is something that is important again. For example, you can type here, select top 1000 star from. I say OK, and I create a new window. So how do you quickly get a select star done? This is what you type normally. Person.person, person is the schema name, and the second person is the table name in SQL Server. So I run this query. You can see that it executed and gave me results. What is new about this? Nothing. Now, all I will have is the table name with the schema name, of course. If there is no schema, or if it is DBO, then I'll just directly type the. Let me also zoom this up so that everybody can see it easily. Much better. Okay. So now, all I'm doing is selecting this table name and pressing Ctrl 3, and it just gives me the result again, right? Did you notice that? All I'm doing is Ctrl 3 and I have selected only the table name, nothing else. So how was this possible? Because I have a shortcut which I have created now, a query shortcut. There are some default shortcuts available. SP who? Can anyone tell me what is SP who? Who are the current logged on users to the system basically in the SQL Server instance. So that is very important if you have multiple users using it, if you're trying to restore a database, etc. So this is another shortcut like that you can create for each of the numbers basically. You can see it here. 1 to 10, 1 to 0 basically, right? So this is one. And simple, how do you hide or show this result pan? What do you do normally? Control R. So I'm sure everyone is aware of. This is again nothing new in SQL 2012, but these shortcuts really would improve your efficiency and your time taken to do things. And there are formatting shortcuts, as in you can do a capital letter, you can do everything capital, you can do init capital, you can do small letters. You typed a lot of things, or you got a file from a different person, then you see that it is not really well formatted. The keywords are not in capital letters. What do? You start typing everything? No, you can use these formatting shortcuts and that will come in fine. This is again, as I have said, is old auto recover, which has been there for some time, but it's important to know this. This is a setting which allows you to, after a system crash or a program crash, and when you restart SQL Server Management Studio, you can actually get back the crashed files basically. So this setting allows or tells you how, when to auto save basically. That 5 minutes means every 5 minutes when you are working, irrespective of you are saving or not, it will auto save basically. So you want that setting to come down to 1 minute or something, you can do so basically. The next thing, keep auto recovery information for how many days. That tells you after a crash for how much time those files will be retained by SQL Server. So if you set it as 7 days, it is important that you recover it within 7 days. Actually, if it is a crash and you are trying to recover, you recover it as soon as possible. But this setting allows you to control these actually. Visual Studio compatible we saw, and this full list. After the session, I would, after the next session, I would actually completely share this whole thing for everyone. So you will be able to see these shortcuts, you will be able to see these links, etc. Here is the complete shortcut list. It's quite exhaustive. If you want to talk about each and everything, we need 2.5 hours just for this. So we'll just skip it. I just wanted to introduce and show it to everyone. And wherever you don't see a R2 equivalent, then it means that it has been introduced newly only in 2012 actually, right? You can see how big that scroll is actually. So many shortcuts are available. So it's a request for you to take advantage of it and learn some of these shortcuts so that your time is saved. Okay, then DMVs, dynamic management views. What are dynamic management views? Any quick thoughts? Have you used a dynamic management view? Okay, dynamic management views are mostly considered as something that will help a DBA basically, a database administrator or a system administrator who does multiple things to make sure that the SQL Server is in good health and the system is in good health, and what all are the features that are getting used, what all are the indexes that are getting used. You can get multiple information out of dynamic management views. So slowly it is coming apparent that it's not just for the DBAs, even the programmers can take advantage of multiple things from the DMVs basically, just like we use sysobjects, syscolumns, etc. sometimes in our programming. So this is the server state information that can be used to monitor the health of a server instance, diagnose problems, tune performance. There are multiple types like database related, extended events related, execution related, mirroring related, common language runtime related. Remember that SQL Server has been long supporting common language runtime integration now actually. And then index related, then input output, security, many things basically. There are some new additions in 2012. We'll quickly see. I have them written here so that we don't waste much time on that. Just zooming it out. Okay, so you can see this. Select star from sysdm execute query statistics. So when I execute this, it returns me the complete query statistics of what has happened in the since the last time of the cleanup actually. These 4 rows were new additions with 2012. It tells you the total rows, last rows, minimum rows and maximum rows. And this is another new addition. This gives you the Windows Service installations that are done with this instance of the SQL Server. you have multiple instances running, so you want to identify which is the exact process that I have running as a Windows service. So here it is, what is the status of it, what is the service account, what was the last startup time, you can get all these. And this is to get the complete registry settings related to the SQL 2012 install in this particular machine. And of course, this is quite straightforward. It gives you the Windows info of the current instances OS actually. Okay, so these are the new things. And just to give you an understanding of what a DMV can do for you, I've just given another example. This is not new, as that command says. Index usage stats, as the name suggests, it tells you what is the usage statistics of your indexes actually. All right. So it tells you what is the object ID, the index ID, how many user seeks were there, how many scans were there, lookups, updates, last user seek, when did that happen, last scan, when did it happen. Very useful information, all these. If you want to make sure your indexes are working, if you want to tune your indexes, if you want to reassess if my index selection is good or bad, best way is to look at this DMV to find out what is the statistics or what is the usage statistics of the indexes that you've been using actually. All right, clear? Any questions so far in DMVs? Okay, there is a DMV for even missing indexes that actually tells you as and when you run that, if you had attended the previous session, one of the sessions that I took on index management, there is a suggestion which comes for the missing index. All such information will be captured whenever you would have executed the actual execution plan, etc. basically, and that DMV would give you the complete missing index statistics since the last cache clearance actually. All right, so these are quite useful. You can start making advantage of it, you can start using them. And one small tip again, to be careful, we all know that select star is not a very good thing to do. It's not something entirely wrong or something, because you would have seen that most of the authors themselves are using it, etc. But as a programmer in an application, never write a select star. You're doing a demo like this, you want to check what is there in a application, in a table, etc. very quickly. You can use it, of course, but never use it within an application, never use it within your queries or stored procedures, because any time that column order or the column, the entire columns can be changed later on. Same applies to DMVs. They'll add new columns, they might remove old columns, etc. So removing old columns would be very rare again, but one advice is never use a select star and don't use the indexes within that basically. Okay, use the column names even from DMVs. Then this is called spatial indexes. Before we get deep into spatial indexes, I want to understand how many of us know what is spatial data actually in SQL Server. Have you used spatial data, any one of you? What does the word spatial tell you? Okay, it relates to two things, geography and geometry. There was a time when SQL Server was not supporting spatial data. How is it popping up with the DND on? Skype bug.
Close.
Okay, it's here. You see this? This kind of information can be stored within SQL Server, right? Geometry objects, okay? Or what you see here is geography objects, like a map, like a globe, like a position in the globe, right? Now, what is the basic thing of geometry? It's a point basically, right? Based on where the points are and based on how they are connected, you create shapes actually. So point data is the most important data, and if the point, starting point and ending point are the same, you get a closed structure like a polygon, like a hexagon, etc. Right? If it is a continuous and a separate points, and if the starting and ending are not right, then you get a line and so on and so forth. Right? So there are different shapes, and all these are called spatial data. And one of the problems with SQL Server has been they were kind of bit slow, etc. compared to other database management systems. So now they have introduced new spatial indexes. This is it. So what it means is faster build time for spatial indexes and point data, critical for tables with millions of rows. What is point data? We just saw. Any spatial object, any geometry or geography object need to depend on points actually. So that particular critical thing has been done. So if a table has millions of records, for example, Bing Maps internally uses this spatial data feature of SQL Server actually. Okay, so critical for tables with millions of rows. Then there are two functions, st_distance and st_buffer, which is used again with your points data. Those are optimized. Then row compression and page compression are available. What happens when you compress a row or a page? The data gets next to each other, much closer to each other in real terms basically. So the retrieval times will be much faster, right? And you have two new help SPs introduced, geography histogram and geometry histogram. And if you're interested, this link is given in the PowerPoint itself. You can have a look at this at any point in time. All right? Okay, we'll move on. Column store indexes. Now, before we move very much further, we all know that what is an index? We all know that they're row based on row actually, right? What do I mean by based on row? The indexes operate based on rows so that at any point in time you can reach the actual row data basically. But here comes one of the new features, which is again was missing for quite some time in SQL Server. Now they have introduced this with 2012 basically. This is very useful in a star schema. What is a star schema? We all use it. You have a fact table or a center table, and then you have adjoining table or dimension tables around it. How does this work? Assuming I have a table name to sales order details, right? And in this, I just have a primary key, then I have a FK product ID, then I have a FK customer ID, FK salesperson ID, and so on. Now, each of these are the dimension tables. This is product ID, this is customer ID, this is sales ID, sorry, this is sales, and each of these IDs are nothing but the primary keys of each of the tables. And this table just sits there and does nothing other than storing the relationship in a many-to-many relationship object. So attach all this, then you get a star kind of a structure. So that is why it's called the star schema. You have a fact table and you have the dimension tables, right? So this is very useful for that when you have a column store index. The classical storage has been a row-based storage, but with column store index, the performance would be much more higher. We'll quickly see a syntax here. Okay, so the syntax is create non-clustered column store. This is the keyword again. Index on person CSI on person.person. This is the index name I have given. You can give anything. So this is the schema name. This is the table name.